Are you listening?
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Nerf Report. My name is Brian Chappelle, and it has been a massive week here on the show. But for this week's episode, I want to talk to you about video games. I mean, clearly, this is a video game channel on YouTube, so obviously we want to talk to you about video games. But for this week, I specifically want to talk with you about the cost of video games. And you're probably thinking, you're going to spend an entire episode talking about the cost of video games? And the answer to that is yes. I mean, I could dedicate an entire series about the cost of video games and the things that frustrate me. Like, what the hell is Nintendo tax? How does Breath of the Wild, a game that launched in 2017, still have the same price tag as it did when it launched 3 years ago? And if Nintendo has a tax, do I need to file a Nintendo tax return every single year? Because if that's the case, I am in serious trouble. But as we approach the next gen, the shroud of mystery surrounding the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X is slowly beginning to lift. And quite frankly, this last week, the next gen suffered its first hiccup. Because whether they meant to or not, 2K Sports sent the world of gaming into a frenzy when they announced their NBA 2K21 lineup. But unlike most years, the frenzy surrounding the NBA 2K announcement was not about cover athletes. Instead, this year, it was about cost, with 2K Sports announcing a current-gen and next-gen version of NBA 2K21. The current-gen standard edition for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One was listed at $59.99, whereas the next-gen standard edition for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X was listed at $69.99. And in an interview with WCCFtech.com, a spokesperson from 2K Games justified the price increase to NBA 2K21 as a representation of the value being offered, and described NBA 2K as having nearly endless replay value. Which, yeah, I guess technically you could say that a game like NBA 2K has endless replay value until there's a roster update, or until the next game launches, which 2K21, the next one will be 22, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 months? Yeah, I mean, that's close enough. We'll just call it endless. However, we would be doing you a huge disservice if we didn't even acknowledge the fact that there is some serious irony in the fact that 2K Sports, whose parent company, Take-Two, made $410 million off of in-game microtransactions, an increase of 40% over the past year in the first 3 months of 2020 alone. And somehow, they are the first company to announce a price increase because...
Help me, I'm poor.
Now, this price increase for NBA 2K21 for $70 per game has the entire internet concerned that in regards to the next gen, not only will we have a leap in tech, but now we will see a leap in price. And sure, the argument could be made that the video game industry hasn't seen a proper price increase since 2005, when Call of Duty 2 from Activision and Infinity Ward was the first game to go from the average $40 to $60 and usher in a new standard of pricing for video games. And going 15 years without a price increase is extremely impressive, especially when you realize that companies like Netflix have almost raised their price every year by $1. Which at the rate they're going, by the year 2040, I'm probably going to need a mortgage to watch Netflix. However, that is not to say that developers have avoided a price increase entirely. They've just become extremely talented in hiding them. For example, name me a major game that has launched in the last 2 years that doesn't feature some type of DLC, microtransaction, season pass, or even loot boxes. Because instead of seeing a game's development all the way through and charging the actual cost of the video game, some developers rely on these add-ons to make up for lost costs, along with extending the customer's purchase cycle. And probably the best example of this would be Control from Remedy Entertainment. The game launched in 2019 for $59.99, and shortly after it was announced that the game would be receiving 2 story expansions that could be yours for an additional $24.99. Bringing the total cost to experience the entire Control story from start to finish from $60 to $85. Honestly, for me, the idea of a video game price increase is welcome, especially if it means the practices of using season passes, DLCs, or loot boxes just vanish. But the fact is, a price increase of $10 won't make that happen. Because across the industry, Microtransactions like these have become a massive success, with studios focusing on the free-to-play games as a service model instead of a massive narrative experience that may have 1 or 2 playthroughs. And gamers love stuff like this. For example, Respawn, the developer of Apex Legends, every 3 months announces a new season of content. And is it the same game that it was 3 months ago? Well, yes, but if I don't spend the $10 on the Battle Pass, I will never get the new Bangalore skin. And as a Bangalore main, I would like to take this opportunity to lodge a formal complaint about how very few good skins that my girl has. Come on, get your act together, Respawn. But let's be clear. Selling this next-gen price increase simply as a greedy grab by developers who don't care about games, they just want more money, would honestly be a disservice. Because while in some cases where developers are pushing for price increases, this might be true, the reality is the overall cost of developing a video game has increased, and it's not stopping anytime soon. In fact, Jim Ryan, the CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, recently told GameIndustry.biz that as technology advances, enabling more lifelike graphics, there probably will be an increase in development budgets. And an increase in development budgets isn't something that just developers write off, because developers are now companies who must remain profitable to stay in business. So they have to be smart on how they recoup their cost. And for some, a $10 price increase might be the best option. And I've recently seen the argument that video games don't deserve $70, and to those of you making that, I couldn't disagree with you anymore. Like, take Call of Duty 2, the game that forced the last price increase in 2005. Now compare that to the most recent Call of Duty game, which launched in 2019. I bet you could find some justification to pay $10 more. But for me, the most interesting part of this story is that for the most part, 2K Sports is the only one pushing for this price increase. Other games have announced their plans to launch on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, but they haven't announced the cost. Could they have known that this wouldn't be a very popular announcement, so they planned on waiting until the last minute in order to avoid backlash, or let somebody else take the brunt of the damage? But the other intriguing part about this announcement is, in many ways, it is a direct pushback from the industry towards Xbox's next-gen focus. One of Xbox's biggest selling points for the Xbox Series X has been the console's smart delivery. The idea is that you buy a game once and play the best version of that game across any generation. So if you bought a game on the Xbox One prior to the launch of the Xbox Series X, your Xbox One version would not only run on your Series X, but it would be optimized with better tech. But the 2K announcement makes it extremely clear that the games that are designed for the next-gen consoles will far supersede the previous generation versions. Essentially telling Xbox, yeah, smart delivery is cool and all, but Papa 2K still gotta get pizzade, homie. However, like with many things surrounding the next generation, the information is sparse, rumors are rampant, and it could all be changed tomorrow. But the one thing that is for certain, whether it be next-gen games or even next-gen consoles, I am going to be extremely broke. Thanks again for checking out our channel. If you like what you saw and you want to see more content just like it, definitely subscribe and check out all of our other videos. If you don't, well, the internet's going to explode. That's right, you heard it here first. If you don't click that subscribe button, the internet will implode. What are you waiting for? Save the world.